don't want it that close. Hey, like I got to come up with a line. Hold on. Look, somebody's already on here. That's interesting. Okay. Well, look, let me mute this because I know how to. Yeah. Let's see. One is watching. Okay, I'll take it. I haven't been on here in so long. I haven't done a live in several years, but I thought I would do what I am calling Healing Tuesday pop up. I'm just popping up on you because this has been crazy. Some things have been happening that I think is absolutely insane, and I think it's time that I talk about it. I don't think. I believe I'm in a space now where I can get back on, feel like my voice has some authority, some power, still some anointing, although, yeah, I ain't gonna get that no time of day. Somebody's texting me. Yes. Hold on. I need to do this. So Howard, I want to know who this is on here. mm. I want to know who my viewer happens to be. I know a couple people looking for me. I saw your text. Anyway. Oh, and before I say something like that, and it ain't the police. Child, y'all got some imaginations out here in these streets. But yeah, I am, there's a lot going on in the world, but some of the stuff that I see on social media has just had me perplexed and just kind of blown away. And I know that I can remember a time I was talking with one of my best friends about this yesterday. I remember a time when we were sitting in a church service. And during that church service, the bishop said, when you're dating, you need to look for someone who has similar background as yours. You need to, you know, kind of similar backgrounds, cultures. And then he began to describe what that background thing situation meant. And I remember my best friend and I looked at each other, was like, we don't want that. And it's this place of it's this place that I think is really interesting where we will say, we don't want to date certain types of men or women because trust me, social media is whew, going back and forth all day long about the types of men that women don't want to date and the type, oh, he's sassy boy, he's this, he's that, and then the women, oh, she's non-traditional, but I mean, it's all of these conversations that are contradictory to the fact that when we're talking about you growing up in a single parent household, though, or you raising children in a single parent household, you are hell bent on, well, that's okay, and my children are fine. But then you won't date someone from that upbringing or that background. And I want to get on here and have a conversation about this. I don't want to go through the statistics in that way, but I think I need to just a little bit. It is obvious that there's something off and something wrong. And I'm not saying that we can't turn out to be healthy individuals. I'm not saying that we can't do the work to be healthy individuals, but we have to be aware. One of the biggest things that I learned, or one of the greatest tools I learned, was awareness. And then when you take the test for emotional intelligence, one of the things you learn about yourself is, what's your awareness level? Awareness of how people perceive you, how you manage people, perception, how you move through this world. That's important. And I don't think we have an awareness to how fatherlessness has played a huge role in how some of us move. And if you don't have an awareness, you can't then address it. I've been blessed to be able to address mine. This is not about perfection, but it's definitely about just an awareness. Because a lot of you will say, oh, women don't take accountability. Well, here's the thing, you can't take accountability for something you're not aware of. And that becomes where, to me, that's where the rubber meets the road. You want me to take accountability because you say I need to take accountability, or you want me to take accountability because I now know and I'm aware of how certain things are and how when I move a certain way, it impacts you, it impacts others, and I need to manage that. I don't believe, I think I have it here. I think I have it in my phone. I'm gonna see. Um, and this is my, I'm trying to see my scores. And this is not to brag, this is just to make you aware of what it looks like when you get, let's see. I'm trying to just find it. Maybe I didn't do that right because it's not coming up. Hold on one second. Oh, yeah. My scores. And once again, this isn't to brag. This is what it looks like when you take an emotional intelligence quiz. I took this in 2019. When you buy the book Emotional Intelligence, it's in the book. I guess, no, I'm not going to share the screen. Do I share the screen? I probably should share the screen because people will be like, she lying. Let me download this and then I'll share the screen. This was not supposed to be this kind of conversation. But, talking about this stuff, it's like, we have to be aware. I'm going to show y'all my emotional intelligence quiz. That's going to be interesting. And I hadn't even planned that part at all. But here we are. Share the screen. Let's see if it'll let me do it. Allow. Window. Okay, there we go. I'm going to share. See, I'm sharing my screen. You get to see. This was 2019, so this was a while ago. New name too, so we'll figure that out at some point. But it talks about the different, EQ scores. What's the scores mean? Blah blah blah. Strategies 1, 2, and 3. So when you get down to it, and this is literally in the book. I don't want to give away my code either because I probably need to do this again just to see. And where are my glasses? Look, because when I'm doing stuff like this, I learned the last time, girl. Oh, they're way over there. Okay, I'll figure it on the other side of the room. Okay, so personal competence and social competence. These are the things that we're measuring. So I'm just going to scroll down. And then it talks about the different scores. A strength to capitalize on, a strength to build on. With little improvement, this could be a strength, something you should work on, a concern you must address. Okay. So here we are. I'm not trying to, yeah. So here we are. Here's my scores. And partially this is because I've worked on some things, right? Self-awareness, your ability to accurately perceive your emotions and stay aware of them as they happen. This includes keeping on top of how you tend to respond to specific situations and certain people. I did pretty well there, right? I did pretty well. But then you get to self-management. Your ability to use awareness of your emotions to stay flexible and positively direct your behavior. This means managing your emotional reactions to situations and people. So that's the lowest score I got. So 81. So it's a strength to build on. Not horrible, but still something I can work on. And child, when you get into some situations, self-management can be a problem, can be a whole issue. Um, but 81 is not a horrible score. And then, and let me talk about what personal competence is. It's the collective power of your self-awareness and self-management skills. It's how you use emotional intelligence in situations that are more about you privately, okay? Privately. And then social competence, I got a 96. So personal, I got an 86. Social, I got a 96. Not bad, but it still tells me something. The combination of social awareness and relationship management skills, it's more about how you are with other people. Now, that was interesting, me seeing this just now. I didn't even realize I got 100%. Your ability to accurately pick up on emotions in other people, that's that empath thing, and to get what is really going on. This often means understanding what other people are thinking and feeling, even if you don't feel the same way. Woo! That takes work to get to that place, to be socially aware at that level. Some of us refuse to do that work to even know what that means or even care to do the work. Relationship management, your ability to use awareness of your emotions and the emotions of others to manage interactions successfully. Let an emotional awareness guide clear communication and effective handling of conflict. As you can see, I didn't cheat on the test. The test was what it is and what it was. Yeah, this is just breaking down other things, but those are the points here. I'm sharing this because I want you to recognize that we need to be aware in order, stop screen. We need to be aware socially, in a private and personally when we're moving through this world. And that's how you can be held accountable. But when you're not aware, and that's why people say, oh, I want an emotionally intelligent man. Do you? Because if you don't have the capacity to work with somebody who has emotional intelligence, because your scores are really low, it's going to rub you the wrong way when they are able to navigate. And then you'll try to make it like they don't know what they're talking about. They don't know what they're doing. And that can get really weird too. So when I think about the topic at hand, and the topic at hand is, oh, my children are fine being raised in a single parent home, but then when you're an adult, you don't want to date someone who comes from that type of home. Or he's sassy, or he's got issues, or she's, and it's like the cognitive dissonance of it all is just like too much. It's too much. I need you all to hear me when I say, we got to make this all make sense. And when we make it make sense, we have to recognize that we are not aware personally nor socially how fatherlessness, and that's why I've gone through this, how it's impacting our day-to-day lives, how it's impacting how we interact with ourselves and with other people, privately and socially. We're not aware. We're not aware in the least bit. And how we become aware is doing the work, sitting in the tough places. I know that healing is hard. No question about it. Healing is one of the most difficult things you'll ever have to do. I was even saying yesterday to someone, I was saying to them, and because I talked to my best friend yesterday, I was saying to her, I heard something years ago and it makes it all make sense why we talk so much about healing and therapy and emotional intelligence and all this stuff in this generation. It makes sense to me that our family, our parents, were never given the space or the grace to heal. We're the first generation. What am I, Gen X? I think I'm Gen X. Gen X is the first generation that's had the freedom to heal and to do the work. And so when holding your parents accountable, I believe there's only one level in which you can do that. And it's not at the same level which you do it with yourself and then, or with Gen X on up, not down, on up. So I want to preface that to say, there's only so much you can say to a baby boomer. I've seen some videos. They like, and what? And I'm not going to get too personal tonight because I'm not prepared to do that mentally. But I want you to hear me when I say these things have tremendous impact. And if you don't do the work to sit in it, think about it. Oh, my children are fine. They've got successful relationships. You guys say this kind of stuff all the time. And no, we haven't been posting for a while, and no, we haven't been on social media for a while. We've had a lot of conflict, a lot of challenges, and I've had to step away to do my own healing work, do my own introspect, self-examination, and determine even if I was going to move forward with TFGF. But there was a message that came very clearly from God, and he was like, this is your legacy, and you don't walk away from that. This is part of your calling. And there are things that I'm going to level up on and talk about. But one thing I'm not going to do anymore is try to hire people and do all this other stuff, because that is a distraction at this point. It's a distraction, and it creates so many other things that I can't manage. Child, I can't manage it. Because I hire, and then yeah. And then the lies. Then I got to go deal with that. So then I got to step away so I can go deal with how you mix the little bit of truth with all them lies. Ooh. People say, well, they lied on Jesus. Well, I'm not Jesus. Child, I've had to do some work. And in order to get on here and have this conversation, I had to do some work. But I want to bring up the fact that the number one thing you have to do, and even in having this conversation, is awareness. And once you become aware, then you have to sit in the truth of the trauma. And sitting in the truth of the trauma is going to hurt. It's going to hurt. It's going to bring up spaces and places that you've forgotten about, that you've locked off somewhere in your mind. It's going to bring up emotions and feelings that you didn't want to feel. You always have to do those things in a very safe place with a therapist, with a coach, with friends, peer groups, things of that nature. Because if you just ignore it and act like it's not happening, it's not going anywhere. And it's constant practicing. You know, one thing that I have really thought about and meditated on when it comes to scripture and my faith, you know, faith is a practice, and you practice it daily. When you read scripture and you say, my God shall supply all of my need according to his riches and glory, which are in Christ Jesus. You look at that scripture and you meditate on that scripture, and you're practicing making that scripture manifest, actually come to life in the flesh in your life. And it's the same thing with your healing. You have to practice it. You have to constantly stay in it. I'm not telling you to sit and meditate all day about the pain that you have and every day, but there has to be specific times that you have a time frame with your counselor, your therapist, your psychiatrist, whoever it is you're working with. And I would prefer them to be spirit-led. I would prefer them to be a man and woman of God, because I have been blessed by some of the most amazing people who can give you their professional expertise as well as that spiritual piece. It is a combination of the two. I have a t-shirt that says therapy plus Jesus equals healing. It's a beautiful thing to have. So when I'm sitting here seeing cognitive dissonance on a conversation about, oh, it's okay that my children are raised by just me as their mother, and I can do all of it, and I got this under control, and but then when we present a man to you, you're like, oh, he's sassy, or he ain't this and that, and he's a mama's boy, and ooh, baby. And 9 times out of 10, he came from a single mom household. And so, like, how do you then, oh God, how do you then deal with, like, having these emotions around being a single mother, raising children in a single parent household, but then won't date somebody who is? And I'm going to tell you, the challenges are great. If you don't do the healing work, you will end up sitting in this seat where I'm sitting, because somebody wasn't going to do the healing work and everything. And that's the beauty. I'm going to tell you, the beauty of marriage is it's so strategic. Like, God is amazing how he created holy matrimony. Okay. Some of you are MGTOW and whatever else you want to be. I'm not counting it out ever. Like, it will happen again sooner than later. But I remember having moments in my own journey where my father wound had been healed. And I was teaching and coaching. I'm going to relaunch that, where you can sign up to get, go through the process of healing your father wound. And I'm probably going to add mother wound to it at some point, and we always did that at the end. Those who were in that coaching, in those particular coaching groups, can tell you that we would do at the end of healing our father wound, I would initiate the conversation around healing your mother wound. And there was a particular book that we would read, and that book set it off, because I say healing your father wound is one thing, but after your father wound, your mother wound shows up, and she is a beep, beep, beep. Like, that thing is tough. That thing is absolutely tough to work through. But I can say that Duolingo is telling me it's time to do my exercises. That was loud. And it's on both phones. But Jesus, I think about when I was married and the things that would come up. And they weren't easy to deal with. But one of the things I didn't want to do was embarrass my spouse. I didn't want to put my spouse in a situation where he was embarrassed by the fact how I was moving and walking through certain things. And I remember there were times that I would have had a conversation with my mother, and it was dark. It was dark, y'all. And so what would happen is he'd come in the house and blinds closed, and I'm in the dark and it's daylight outside. And he's like, what is going on? And that was embarrassing, because it was like, oh my God, nobody knows this but this person. No one knew that. No one had ever seen that. And so he's like, what's going on? And I'm like, Mama, calling. And he's like, wait a minute. Her words aren't that powerful. How are you? Like, what she said, I know that. He's like, I know that's not true. Her words aren't that powerful, Torri. Right? And he's like, well, and I'm telling you, I'm a baby. Child, you go from, depending on how these wounds show up, mother, father wound, you can be 5 years old, you can be 9 years old, you can be 12 years old, but you always going to be a kid when those things show up until you heal them. And I remember he would always say her words aren't that powerful. Well, those who know that that's the thing. It's the words in my situation, in my mother wound, or former mother wound. It was the words. It was the things that were spoken. Her words aren't that powerful. And one day I looked up and I was like, yeah, her words aren't that powerful. And I can tell you, even in the midst of that, and as, like, I can look at divorce and still say, my mother wound got healed in my marriage. So I'm grateful to that, or for that. And that's something I can look at and say, that's fantastic. When you heal that and you allow it to do what it's supposed to do, and it wasn't comfortable. It was the most uncomfortable, embarrassing, shameful situation. I had to let somebody in and see. That's that intimacy part, into me see. And that was the situation. So when I look at saying, oh, girl, you got to date somebody who's like, I don't want no man who come from a single parent. I don't want no man who, because sometimes here's where the rubber meets the road for some of you. It's not my testimony, but I've seen it. And I even said this to my best friend yesterday. Our whole conversation is on this live. I said to her, I know sometimes when I am talking, whether it's on a live or even to her about the work that I do, and it's kind of the same thing with my mother or other friends that are, single moms and have been single moms, and maybe they're married now. I'm hitting at something that you've experienced and it doesn't feel good. And Torri has said something it's not being rude, but I don't even like that that's being said, but it's the situation. It's what it is. Being raised in a single parent household sets you at a disadvantage. And if you notice the posts that we've been posting on social media, even about domestic violence, fatherless children are 60 times more likely to be in a situation with a stepfather where they're killed. And you haven't seen some of the other stats that I have. I'm like, what in the world? We are more likely, I think it's 6 times more likely to even witness domestic violence. And so we've got to like stop saying, well, who did their research? And these are Republican talking points. And my journey is not a Republican talking point. My fatherlessness is not a Republican talking point, people. The work that I do is not a Republican talking point. The healing that I've had to walk through is not a Republican talking point. But you all make it that. And then I've seen, individuals who are in the fatherhood space, like fatherlessness is not real, blah, blah, blah. It's, it's just about where the father is or something like that. Someone said to me. And I said, okay, we know that we didn't come here by immaculate conception. Like, that's obvious. But even if I look at the word, it's just less father. It's fatherless. It's father deprivation. It's father deprived. We can get into the nuances of it all and try to play this game around fatherhood. I stick to the fatherless conversation. And I do feel like sometimes when people are doing that, it's like, Torri, you don't belong in this space. No, I do, because I'm fatherless. You all can do fatherhood. Enjoy that. I'm not a father and I'm not a mother, to be honest with you. But I know fatherlessness. And I know that there are people who have a dad in the home and they're fatherless. It's father deprivation. It's someone who's not connected to. The dad is absent. Dad is passed. Dad is incarcerated. Like, we want to play these games with these words, and I get it. I guess it makes you something. I don't know what it makes you. But what it doesn't make me is a Republican talking point. No. My journey was my journey. And my fatherless journey impacted my mother, and it also impacted my father. Because how they had to show up in the midst of me growing up fatherless, as her being a single mother raising me, that how you navigate that, that's something I swore I'm never going to be a single mom. Sorry. That's not going to happen on my watch. And I'm not putting myself in situations to be that. And please don't get offended if you are one and you feel like, oh, well, she's trying to act like she better. No, I'm just simply telling you, I saw the pain. I was aware. The word of the night is awareness. I'm writing it down. So I keep saying it. I was aware of the struggles that I witnessed. And I was like, that's not for me. And I made decisions to ensure that it wasn't going to be me at all. I don't date a certain type of male at all. I don't even entertain them. Now, in my younger years, I didn't even entertain them then. One thing I was telling someone about today, and I was saying, I did this guy in my early 20s. And I can't tell you I really liked the guy, but you know what I liked? I liked his family. He had this amazing mother and father. His sister, she had a great husband, and there was a little girl. And it was just like these great family dynamic, the one that you want. But he was a hot mess. But I'm holding on to him, because I want this picture, this family. We would go out to their home out in, I don't know, it's way out in the suburbs, like Swanee area, beautiful gated community, right? And I'm like, I want that. That's what I'm looking for. And he was a hot mess. Hot mess. How he got a hot mess, I have no idea. I don't even want to know. I don't even want to know. But what I do know is I had to let that go because it was not conducive. It was not healthy. It was dysfunctional. It was toxic. And it was traumatizing. Yeah, I can remember that. That's the only other person I would rather, if I saw him, baby. Most other people, we would hug it out and say, hey, they'd introduce me to their family or their wife or whatever. But there's 2 people now. There was 1. Now there's 2. I am not interested. Do not speak to me if you see me. Don't. And people are like, oh, she got unforgiving. No, I just don't even want to test it. I don't even want to test it. I'm aware. I'm absolutely aware. Let me see. And there's one person still watching. Okay. No comments. I don't know. I don't know, y'all. But awareness and then sitting in the truth of your trauma, because that's going to hurt. Hold on. And I didn't look. I said I was going to get on here and I got on here because if I had to do too much prep and too much this and that, I was not going to get on here tonight. If I had to put on a different outfit, I was not getting on here tonight. Okay. That's why I don't do lives, because my hair needs to be redone. I'm like, I'm not getting on here, but I'm on here. So it's the truth, sitting in the truth of your trauma. And the truth of my trauma was in certain situations, that mother wound would show up. It would show up. Very interesting, huh? And then once you've done the work and sitting in your truth and you feel it and you know that there's pain, now it's time to talk it out. Now it's time to talk it out with and I know someone tried to say that people could mistaken me for a therapist. I'm like, child, how? I never said I was. And I'm always leading you to therapists. I've had on Healing Tuesdays, I've had several therapists show on, social workers, individuals like that. You've got to find the one that fits for you. You've got to find them. Find the therapist that fits for you to talk things out, for you to then learn valuable tools in order for you to not only talk it out, but then manage your trauma. I'm not only managing the awareness that I have socially and personally, I'm also managing my trauma because life is happening. Life is not, it is not giving anybody a break in this season. There are no breaks in this season. And so I've posted before on my personal page how I do TRE exercises. I have a therapist. I've considered, what is it? EDMR. I've considered, I do tapping. There are things that I do that help me manage, sometimes you just, you have things that you have to do to manage this stuff that's going on with you, right? I typically use my right hand, but there are things that you do. And some of that tapping that I've learned to do, it's to help me remember and recall and memorize things that I need to memorize. I have learned that because of the way words were used in my upbringing, words were very challenging for me in the sense of embodying positive words. I would embody negative words. So imagine being with someone in a relationship with someone who they've been raised in a single parent household. How they were raised, majority of the time was a good thing, but there were times when words were used as weapons, and those weapons cut in a way that then shaped and developed that person, that anytime words are used in a critical way, it can be alarming, it can be triggering. So I then had to manage, how do I receive words? And I didn't always, especially from men. I'm used to receiving, cutting words from a woman. I never got that from a man. I would cry when men would just be like, you're doing amazing, da da da, just positive. And I'm sitting there like, because, and I've shared this before on a live, because when you're not used to men speaking into your life, the way it rattles your nervous system is something insane. And there's the other part. After I say, speak to someone about it, you've got to recognize that. Let me go back to sitting in the truth of your trauma. There's an amazing book called The Body Keeps the Score. That book stays with me majority of the time. The Body Keeps the Score is why you have to sit in the truth of your trauma. Even my coach, who I got my trauma-informed healing certificate out, from, one of the things he quotes is his mentor, and he talks about how trauma is not something that you've experienced, it's something you're experiencing. And when you've had traumatic situations, and most of us have, that's like, you gotta know what the trauma is, because what's normal to you might not be so normal. It might not be. And because you're like, well, that happened to me, and I know 10 other people that happened to, and that's just what happens. And so because that happens, that's normal. And it's not. It's actually trauma. And how, when I go back to sitting in the truth of your trauma, how your body is experiencing that trauma, you could be doing that all day, every day, thinking that that's normal, and your body is responding to trauma, and you have not figured out how to regulate your nervous system. Sometimes my nervous system is regulated based on techniques that I do, like tapping or TRE or sitting in front of a therapist. Other times my nervous system is regulated in a different city, different environments. I've had to learn what that looks like and what that means for me. You got to figure out what that means for you. And then going into speaking to someone. There are people who you can speak to called therapists. I'm not one. I got to laugh about that. I'm going to keep laughing about that. These are things that I believe put you in a space where you're not looking at situations in the way that I'm watching y'all on social media. Like contradictory in the craziest way. I'm going to raise my children in a single parent household. But then when a man shows up and he's raised in a single parent household, he got multiple baby mamas because he's repeated patterns. Because if you're not aware and you don't sit in your trauma and you don't go talk to someone, guess what you do? You repeat the patterns. Repeat the patterns of your parents. And some of you are like, well, my children, they've done better than me and they're educated. Yeah. Education is performance. Overachieving is performance. You made your children performance-based, I guess. I don't know. How are they emotionally? How are they in relationships? My children, they did this and they got, and most of the time, mom, let me just talk to you for a moment. Single mom, most of the time, when you're talking about your children and when you feel like I'm challenging you and I'm just talking about statistics, I'm just talking about what it looks like, I'm just talking about, and your feathers get ruffled, you actually get triggered. Everything you list to me about who your children are is performance. It's not about at all. I think one time I had a lady say, my son is a great father and he is a great husband and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, okay. But most of you don't do that. Most of you talk about their education, their career. Everything you talk about is performance. That's easy. We can do that without healing. We can do that without looking at who we are, how we move personally and socially. We can do that without sitting in our trauma and figuring out the places in which our body is keeping the score of our trauma. One thing I love about TRE exercises, and I actually had to do this during separation because it was just impacting me on such a level that I just couldn't. I mean, exercising was great. I lost a lot of weight. And not from stress. I lost a lot of weight because I was working out and eating better and doing the things I needed to do. But TRE actually allows you trauma release exercises. So it allows you to release where the tension is in your body. And I don't know if I said it on here. I probably said it on one of my personal lives, but it was so crazy because I did the training. I actually did a training so that I could later potentially go back and train others how to do this. I remember doing the 6 exercises initially, and before I even fully got into the position for the release to take place, my body, when I was in the last position, number 6 position, my body was already doing that. Now I could probably lay on the floor now and my body would probably naturally do it. And I don't do these as much as I used to. I need to do them more often. Even doing that just now, I'm like, I need to go do that because like I'm holding tension in my back and in my shoulders, and it releases that and it brings clarity. And I remember when I first saw the video of how this looked, I thought, oh my God, that's wild. But it looks like an exorcism, like your body is jerking, letting things out. And I hold a lot of tension in my hips. And so there's this place where your hips are they're just going. And I would do these exercises and I called the young lady and I said, Antonia, I'm not like, it's only going so far. And I've seen these other videos where people, their whole head is going. She said, oh no, if it's not going past your heart, your chest level, she said, you got unforgiveness. Wait, what? So if you think you've forgiven somebody and you're like, I'm good, I've forgiven them, do a PRE exercise and see if it flows all the way through your body from your feet to your top of your head. Now, it flows. It flows. And let me now that we're talking about forgiveness, let's add number 4, forgiveness. Because after you've spoken to somebody, you need to do the work to forgive people. Hold on, I'm writing as I'm talking. I recently had to forgive again. Forgiveness is not a one-off, and we feel like it is, right? Oh, I forgave them. Well, okay, but then they did something else. Or you heard about something else they said. And you didn't think it impacted you until somebody brought up something similar concerning their family members or whatever. And then you had this thing in my chest. And it was this place where you got to forgive. Got to forgive again. Okay, let me forgive again. And I recently did that. And one of the things that I said out loud was, they don't know any better. They don't know any better. Why are you holding on to something concerning the way someone treated you or is treating you when they don't know any better and that's how they were treated and then the cycle continued? Some of you are upset with people who they're not aware. First step. They haven't even gotten to the first step, awareness. They don't know. That could be your mother, your father, your ex-boyfriend, your baby daddy, your baby mama. Some of y'all don't know. And then some of you are holding people accountable for the same stuff you're still doing or you've done. Like, won't date somebody who's got this, this, and this, but you've got this, this, and that. Oh, they got too many red flags, but you got the same red flags. That's what I'm saying. The contradictions is wild to me. And while we're in Domestic Violence Awareness Month, I've been dealing with someone for 8 years. I think it's 8. It might be 9. I don't even know anymore. Woo! Child. And now this person utilizes social media and every other avenue in order to continue to abuse me like he abused her. And the only reason he's doing this is because I found out his truth and refused to reunite him. I keep telling y'all better call that man's wife, his ex-wife, and figure it out. But here's the other part. Like, what he thinks he's going to do is keep me from reuniting anyone else. Oh, she didn't do what she said she was going to do and do it. Yes, I did. I did. And what I found out was you are abusive. You just lied to me. And so in lying to me, baby, you don't, no more work. I'm done. That's why the case was taking so dang on long. That's the other part I've learned. If the cases take long and it's a hurdle, another hurdle, another, and then my hand starts to shake when I'm on the phone with somebody abusive. It's wild. And I've never even met this person in person. Never even seen him in person. Woo. It's blows my mind. And then you all believe them. I said, I see why people stay in abusive relationships, because ain't nobody believing you. I see it. I get it. I've witnessed this in my own, and I've not been in anybody's abusive relationship. But now from a former client, because you're a liar, and you were an abusive man, beat that woman to the point she had to escape. Mm-mm. No, because you're unaware. You're unaware, and you won't do the work. And I don't work with anybody who's not going to do the work. Have I had people who've come through the program who's abusive? And as we talk about domestic violence, once again, who is abusive and false allegations, or they went through the process and they took all the courses? Yeah. I've also recently had a client where the mother literally lied. And I was privy from step one, step two, step of how she was accusing him, falsely accusing him of beating their daughter. And it didn't happen. Like, there's cameras. It didn't happen. But in order to get her way, she was lying. That's why I say some of y'all make this hard. You make it hard because your own self-awareness is not even thinking about, well, what made me think using a false allegation was the way to go? Did your mom do it to your dad? Where'd you see that first? Some of you, you're a product of that. So then you get coached from behind the scenes, and now you're once again repeating the patterns. But then when the opportunity comes for you to date, for you to meet someone, you're like, I don't want this, this, and this, and this. And it's the same thing you did with your children. It's the same way you raised your son. And you're wondering why, or your daughter. Some of you are raising daughters who are brats, like spoiled out of control. Well, the reason they don't like you is because you got a daddy. No, that ain't it. Mm-mm, that's not it. And I'm laughing because I've seen so much. And the only thing I can do in that moment is laugh. Otherwise, I'm going to cry. Am I a perfect human being? No. But unfortunately, for someone who would want to date me or be married to me, I'm constantly growing. I'm constantly looking at areas that I can improve. I'm constantly examining, self-examining. And some of that at one point or another was not healthy. I was doing it trying to gain the approval of my mother. Is what I was doing. And because I came from such a critical lens, I then would always place that same critical lens on myself. Now it's done because of the healing work that I've done throughout the years. It's done in a different way. It's done from a place of, not a place of being critical, but from a place of growth and what would be the word I would want to use? Authenticity. Authenticity. I want to be authentic. I want to be the best version of myself, whatever season I'm in. And if I can't be the best version of myself, I need to step away for a moment, like I have done. I don't remember the last time I did a Healing Tuesday. Darren, I don't know if he saw that I was going to get on here tonight. But one of my clients, Darren, has always been like, and I met Darren from Healing Tuesday and he became a client. Darren was like, you need to get back on and do Healing Tuesdays, Healing Tuesdays, Healing Tuesdays, Healing Tuesdays. He would send that, text me, however he needs to do it. He's like, we need Healing Tuesday back. So, tonight may mark versus a pop-up. Tonight may be the marker where it's like, it's time to do Healing Tuesdays again, get this ball rolling. I do feel like I have a lot to say. The season I have just come out of in life requires a lot. And I will even, I'll even say it this way. I was recently having a conversation with someone, and I was reaching out because I was having I was having some internal conflict because I'm the person who I would rather it be a mistake that I made versus something spiritual that's happening behind the scenes. And one of the things you're going to see when it comes to the Fatherless Generation Foundation is me leaning much more into my faith space, my spiritual space, my Christianity. You're going to see me lean more biblical concerning this work. One of the reasons I plan on doing that is because of what I've now seen that takes place in marriage, in relationships, and even reading multiple books from Warren Farrell, going back through Warren Farrell's books, going back through different books that I've read concerning fatherlessness. And when I can read these books, there's a spiritual component to fatherlessness that is demonic. It is rooted in witchcraft, which is control and manipulation, just so we're clear. And witchcraft on another level. Let me not minimize what that is. There's spirits of Jezebel. There's a spirit of Penina. There are spirits that are in ancient spirits that are moving individuals around like chess pieces. And you're just not aware of it. And so because you're so focused on the natural, and I want my kids, and I ain't seen my kids, and oh, he crazy, and he abusive, and the kids aren't safe with him. You're not paying attention to the spiritual component that is creating all of that. You're missing it. And some of you, when I asked a moment ago, what made you think a false allegation was the way to go? Because some ancient spirit has been moving through the women in your family for God knows how long, getting them to do these things, getting them to. Because anytime I do a consult or an assessment, meaning my intake, whether it's with the Fatherless Generation Foundation or my coaching program, coaching, I'm typically aware you're coming because you fatherless, right? That's why you're coming. But when it comes to the Fatherless Generation Foundation, one of the questions I'm asking is, are you fatherless and is your partner fatherless? And I'm going to tell you, 8 out of 10 times, both are fatherless. That's why you're here. This is why we're having the conversation. Because fatherlessness is rooted in something very dark and very demonic. And if you don't know, you're about to start learning. There will be lots of conversations around that. I'm not going to hold back anymore. I witnessed so much that I couldn't say much about. It had me by the throat. Couldn't say much about it. Couldn't. Because when I said something, I would get in trouble. But I witnessed it and I'm like, and even when I went to Africa, they were like, you know a lot about witchcraft. That doesn't happen in America. And I was like, oh, yes, it does. And I see it on you, and you, and you. Mm-hmm. One country in particular. They think that we a Christian nation. And demonic too. Lie on people. Oh, we all tell little lies, Dr. Torri. Do we? I didn't know that was part of the program. I didn't know. But they tell lots of little lies to shake down money. And for those of you who've been funding that girl, I feel bad for you. Because you're getting hoodwinked and bamboozled and don't even know it. I'm telling you, I didn't even know it. But God bless. God bless, God bless, God bless. Because I know certain people will watch this. There was someone who I recently found out who I love dearly. Saw her as a sister. Child, she blackmailed the hell out of me. And then was about to get a whole chunk of money, like a lump sum. And it kept getting delayed and caught in securities and this and that. And I was like, okay, what is happening? And then lo and behold, the truth came out. Canceled that thing. Wow. Shut it down. Mm-mm. I don't have it to give like that anyway. Yeah, but it was very interesting to see text messages amongst you all. Very interesting. The scripture says they will all come up against you, but it won't be by me. I said, he said, it won't be by me. But guess what happens to you when you do that to somebody? Because I was reading Isaiah 54 today. It says, behold, they shall surely gather together, but not by me. Whosoever shall gather together against thee shall fall for thy sake. Y'all so busy gathering together. Y'all not even paying attention to who you gathering with. You so busy, so focused on the wrong thing. Mm-mm. They shall fall. I am who God says that I am. And that's the thing that I can sit here and tell you. There's nothing contradictory about me because I've done the work. But there is so much contradictory about you all. And I'm not just saying specifically you, but as those who are on social media, single mamas, raising their kids, doing this. I don't want to date this. Single fathers, daddy, baby, dad. Oh, you guys are walking contradiction. I'm not going to date this. I don't want this. I don't want that. What's that show? Kendra. I think she's out of Detroit, and she'll have you come on, and you'll talk about what your age, your this, your that, what you're looking for, and how many kids you got, how many times you've been married. Then you talk about what you're looking for, baby. The Delulus, men and women, is out of this world, and that's what because many of you come from that same cloth. You're Delulu. Do the work. Get the awareness that you need the work. Then sit in the truth of your trauma by paying attention to where your body has been keeping the score. Where are you experiencing the trauma? Is it in your heart? Are you holding it in your hips? When you go to the chiropractor, they got to focus a whole lot more. Sometimes I go, one leg is longer than the other because I'm locking it up. I got it tight. That's where my body's keeping the score. That's one of the places. Is your womb one of the places that you're keeping the score? Then speak to someone. Find a licensed therapist, counselor, even group therapy to help you deal with the challenges that you've now become aware of so that you can learn tools to healing. They're not healing you. They're allowing you to talk about the places. Because see, if you're not aware, you're not sitting in the truth of your trauma, you won't know what to speak. You won't know what to talk about. It's not going to freely come. It's not going to be freely there. You need to know some things before you go sit with them. Because otherwise you're just wasting money and time. Know what it is that you need. And then step into that place of forgiveness. And then be ready to forgive again if you need to. Go talk to somebody again and again. Keep them people on speed dial. They're necessary. They're necessary. Stop being a walking contradiction. I've got this situation, but I don't want it for myself. Meaning I done raised kids like this, but I don't want to date anybody who's been in that. Get out of here. If you've not done the work, get out of here. Nope. I forgot how the saying goes. Become the person that you would want to date. Something like that. I don't pay too much attention to all of them, but I know. And I get that some of you have had some challenging lives. Let me say this so it doesn't come off insensitive. You've had some challenging lives. And so your life has given you a set of choices and options. And you've had to make your decisions from those options. I get it. Didn't have a lot of options. But one option you do have is to become aware. Sit quietly. Feel the places that your body has discomfort. Some of you don't even know what that looks like or feels like. Some of you can't sit still for 30 seconds. Meditation. I ain't talking about being in a trance. Meditate on a word, a scripture that you desire to bring to life, that God is speaking to you. Bring it into fruition. My prayer for myself right now is about restoration. Lost a lot. And that loss impacted me greatly. So I had to go back to the drawing board in many ways with my healing. Divorce ain't something I would ever want somebody to deal with. Ever. Ever, ever, ever. And I didn't want it for myself. That's another, I was talking about that today during my prayer time. What the heck? Never. But now that it's a part of my journey, I've got to do the work. So here we are, doing the work on that. Here we be. And some of you been broken up, divorced, all of that, and you've done nothing but move from relationship to relationship to relationship, not even dealing with the issue, not even becoming aware of how you got there. Oh, what I was going to say earlier, and then I'm going to get off of here because it's been an hour. I was reaching out to this person. I'm going back. And one of the things she got into was, marriage, what happened? And marriage is for this reason. These are the reasons people get divorced. What do we say? Money, communication, and sex. Y'all need to put trauma and witchcraft in there. For real. There are people who will see your stuff and want it and do dirt. I'm talking about dirty stuff to get it. But we're going to talk about that on another day. Okay? So, being clear, I want to make sure how I say this. As I've popped up on you tonight, so that you don't live in this contradictory space when it comes to raising your children in a fatherless home and then being in a position where, your dating options are your background and where you come from, fatherlessness and all of the challenges that come with it. The way that you maneuver out of that, where that you are not a walking contradiction or living in a space of delulu, is number one, become aware. Take the emotional intelligence test. That's easy. I don't even know. The book ain't even $20. Take that test. Find out where you are in the grand scheme of things. Number two, sit in the trauma. Sit in the truth of your trauma, where that came from, and that phrase. I'm going to stick with it. And that's body keeping the score. And then number three, find a counselor, licensed therapist, so that you can go to, and even get a life coach. I always tell my fathers who are coming in, who's on your team? Build your team. Build your team. Your healing squad. Jeez, build it. And then once you talk to that person, spoken about what you need, walk in this space of forgiveness, realizing that these people, they don't have the capacity. They don't know what you need them to know. They don't know. Get that compassion stirred up for them so you can just move on. So I'm Dr. Torri J. You're going to see me on here much, much more. You're going to see me on here. It's time to come back. So I hope you all have an amazing Tuesday night. TFGF.org. We are redoing some things. I don't think I'm doing reunification for a while, just so you're aware. I do have coaching that I will start posting about. Peer groups, we will go back to doing those and those only. But I don't want to do reunification for a little while. Unfortunately, you guys, there's a handful of men who've just ruined it for you. And I need a break from it. I've done a lot of successful reunifications, whether people have challenged that or not, and questioned that or not. That's not my problem. I know what I've successfully done. And Yeah, I'm back. Have a good night.